I'm a magic man.
I'm on a broomstick. I'm following the cosmic dust.
I'm having sex with demons.
Oh my gosh.
I'm in a pact with the devil, and I'm going to make all the crops around here freeze. We all going to starve together.
We have to say it in German though.
Yeah.
Because
I was like, I got it.
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
I'm like, wait, I don't know how to say that in German.
Yeah. You have to listen to our other episode.
Yeah.
And we want to talk real quickly before we get into this. We talked at the last episode, but I think it's important in understanding higher density living. And when we get into stuff like this and religions and dogma and beliefs, I want people to understand our mission and goal.
Yeah. Is awareness of dangers, is awareness of false ideologies. It's an awareness of the self. That is the goal here. It's not for us to tell you how to think or live. It's for us to help build awareness of the power that resides within you.
Yes.
Okay? To build awareness of your alignment with creation around you that you can directly observe. We're not asking you to look for some sort of God, something in the sky. We're not asking you to pray to anything, nothing like that. No dogmas. Just take the observations of nature, things that you know, the observations of yourself, the observations of your mind and your thoughts, and use those and refine them. Think about the logical aspects of them so that you can say, now I know the power of my thoughts and my association with creation around me. That's the point here. That's not to build a cult.
Right.
It's not to start a new religion. This is not to bash. This is just to create an awareness of dangers of being sucked into things without truly thinking them through. And it's very important that you learn to think for yourself.
Yes, 100%. And I want to kind of get into, we've made some, we have it up on the screen. We've made some updates on the website, and we have a lot of material that we're starting to put on there. We'll be getting some merch and stuff like that. But what is the difference if you donate to a 501c3 like Higher Density Living? What is the difference from donating to Higher Density Living to donating to some other religious cause?
Well, if you donate to a religious cause, you're donating to, first of all, someone that is founded, especially say it's a Catholicism, right? That money, that Peter's pence, goes back to the Vatican.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember the last time I had a courtyard and I was cutting off people's heads or putting out some sort of literature that somebody's a witch and I got to burn them at a stake. What you're doing is you're donating to a hierarchy. You're donating to someone that wants you to be submissive.
And that you have to go to them
and
your salvation.
Yeah, you have to go to your salvation. But, if you donate to us, if you do, fantastic. If you don't, whatever. I'm glad you're just listening. That's all that really matters.
But I want people to understand there will never be a tier of where certain people that donate get certain information.
This knowledge is free. It always will be free. It's truth. You wouldn't, if you were extremely astute and aware, you'd be able to see this without ever having to listen to us.
Mm-hmm.
We're just a different catalyst for receiving this information. But it's always there. And just because you donate does not say, oh, you're special and you get access to special information or special knowledge, right? Or you get, special observance from the church, or someone may pass you out. We don't do things like that. Mm-hmm. It's free access all the time for your own empowerment.
There's not going to be, if you donate $99 a month, you're going to get special information.
No.
When we're only going to give that information to those people that, are the ones, because we did that whole episode on gurus, and I encourage people, because this kind of plays into it. I think it was like 2 episodes ago.
Yeah.
But it's the same thing. It's this whole idea that you need to come to a guru. You need to come to a church. You're helpless. This is the same thing when we're getting into this witchcraft and these witches. You're helpless, and the decisions that you make are only, I made a joke, it's like external, we need to find these things externally. Even, I have runes and we have this pyramid and, here's a little one, we have this big one, we have tarot cards, we got all this stuff. All of those are just tools. They don't have power in them.
No, the only thing that empowers these things on the outside is you internally.
Mm-hmm.
When you associate power with
crystals, same thing.
They're all just tools.
Crystals just store information.
They're information storage.
Yeah.
That's how IBM got their founding.
Yes.
Marcel Vogel with hard drives. Okay.
Yeah, and look that up.
Anyway, the point is, if you donate to us, it's because you saw the value in listening to this for yourself.
Yes.
And if you want other people to share in that value of their own self-empowerment, their own self-awareness, that's all. If you enjoyed finding it through this medium, thanks for the support.
Yeah, it just gives us the ability to put out more information. It gives us the ability to because web developers and stuff like that cost for the website. So we have graphic designers and stuff like that we have to pay. So that's the whole idea. It's to get out this information and to put as much information as possible. I mean, we're podcasting almost every day.
Yeah, and if we can dish out some T-shirts, we'll do it for you.
Yeah, exactly. So let's get into the witchcraft. But I want to kind of, this is a fun, and we'll do a whole episodes on dragons. But this is fun because in German, how do you say it for dragon?
Drache.
Yeah. This was this giant monster of medieval epics.
Giant.
But we look at, but that's what we view, when we look at there was actually this little household spirit dragon. And this was the one that caused all the problems.
Yeah.
Supposedly.
It was more of a representation of an energetic spirit rather than a physical thing. That's what it was. And there were associations with, like fire and heat, like stuff like that. But the Drache was just this small spirit entity.
Right.
It's not this huge thing where you have to shoot this special iron arrow into a piece of its, chink in its, scales or whatever it be to take it down so it doesn't destroy the city on the water.
Yeah, a number of people maintained that they had seen the dragon. It looked like a long burning beam with a thick cow-like head that soared through the night sky, flying into a house through a window or through the chimney. The dragon brought its masters or mistress money, as well as other readily usable or sellable goods such as grain, milk, or butter.
Interesting. Okay. So now we're getting into something special here. So now we're starting to make a bridge. I'm outside by the moonlight. And, people, maybe my wood's not dry. I'm burning a lot of green wood. It's letting off a lot of smoke. What if that smoke catches the moonlight a certain way? Mm-hmm. It's going to look like something's flying into my chimney, especially if there's a little bit of wind, right?
And I've been to the pub.
Yeah, and I've been, so I'm a little drunk. I'm upset about what has happened to me recently in an economic standpoint.
Right.
And I see this dragon flying into my neighbor's house. Why is my neighbor's house so big?
Yeah, because it was attracted to smoke from chimneys, like you said.
Oh, interesting. Isn't that funny how we can go backwards with something like that?
But here's the problem with the dragon.
Yeah, what's the problem with the dragon?
Dragon magic was about magical theft. And it was the embodiment of transfer magic. That is this kind of magic that takes some good, including fertility or energy itself, out of one context and transfers it to another context.
Yeah.
The milk witch who conveys the milk from her neighbor's cows to her own livestock, or the vampire that takes life energy itself and transfers
Transfer magic.
away from someone and makes them weaker and gives strength, through greed.
So the spirit entity. So this idea of transfer magic is a zero-sum game. Think about it in economics. I have to take one resource from this person. They will suffer for my gain. So this entity, whether or not you're practicing witchcraft, whatever, but the fact that there's a transfer magic happening here, there's a zero-sum game in the spirit world that's occurring, and I'm actually having my grain and my butter and my milk and my money being taken from me, and I'm watching this other person become more affluent within town, I think they're in cahoots with the Drache.
Yes.
That's probably what's going on.
And this was why, you guys, this is not some little thing. Martin Luther, who created Lutheranism.
Yeah, 99 Theses.
Yeah, he wrote about the dragon. You had Scandinavian and German scientists who spoke about this.
This is great though about the dragon. And the guy who wrote this is an academist. There's this one comment in there. He said, "As always, nobody listened to the academics." I freaking died. Don't play the victim card on us.
Yeah, because some provided an alternative explanation for the dragon sightings. For them, Draco Volans, the spirit that looked like a burning beam with a thick head in the night sky, was clearly a meteorite. So some scientists were saying that it was a meteorite. Others insisted that the phenomenon mistaken for a dragon was really a cloud of burning gas that was somehow attracted to the sooty smoke emerging from the chimneys. And you talked about the green wood.
Yeah.
This pre-industrial smog phenomenon. As usual, here's your comment here. I wanted to repeat this because it's funny. As usual, hardly anyone listened to the academics. So let's talk about climate stability. Yeah. As usual, hardly anyone listened to the academics. What are the academics saying about climate stability, Alex?
The world is being crippled by our actions, but we're not paying attention to it. where they just, and people are like, oh, it's not, we have this like sort of hysteria
Mm-hmm.
around its non-existence.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that we're up, face to face with this truth that is occurring, but because of our own deep-rooted set of beliefs that we can't be to blame for what's going on, it's not happening. That's not legit. Someone must be paying them to say something like this. You think anyone's paying the ocean to rise? You think anyone's paying Greenland to melt? You think someone's paying to have the polar caps just thaw away?
And you can blame Shell, Exxon, Mobil, whoever you want.
Who's buying their oil?
Yeah, but we're the ones that's consuming all of
That's
this.
the whole.
So the
gist of it.
responsibility lies in us.
Yes.
Most people saw the dragon simply as a demon, just another shape the devil could take on. Here comes the devil again.
It's the devil.
And in 1536, the first Saxon witch trial was held that mentioned sexual intercourse with a demon. It was maintained that the devil had appeared in the form of a dragon. And in 1652, a woman from Saxony who claimed to be clairvoyant and thus able to identify witches.
So hold on. I have a lady using magical powers, then identifying witches with her clairvoyance. Who's the one actually practicing the magic here? It didn't matter the fact that the lady had clairvoyance. The identification was strictly from a social stance of somebody else's gain.
Yes.
This becomes a circumstance of zero-sum game.
And she would identify women in the neighborhood that had sex with flying dragons.
Why,
So,
though?
so I guess they're gas, but you can have sex. They can take body form and you can have sex with them.
I don't know. Never seen it.
So when a woman from Saxon-Fishenberg identified the dragon as a milk devil and grain devil, she stressed the diabolic nature of the spirit. So I want to get into this. The diabolic nature of the spirit.
Yeah. Why is it diabolic? Because it's taking from me for somebody else's game. The spirit is only benevolent when it's helping everybody. But if me, in my short-sightedness, see that some of my grain stores are depleted or my cows aren't producing as much, but somebody else's cow is producing more, there must be the devil at work. It must be the Draka spirit.
This is why socialism is so dangerous. And you can look at Stalin and see exactly what happened in Russia, Ukraine, in those areas. Whenever you see, because here's what happened. It's a slippery slope. And we're seeing this, and I'm afraid we're seeing this in a lot of, Jordan Peterson talked about this. There's a book called Gulag. The Gulag, I forgot what it is, but you can look it up. If you just type in Gulag, it'll come on Amazon. But
remember all the
but
dead
it talked
bodies?
about the cannibalism and the devil. But here's what happened. It's a slippery slope. And it's the same thing that happens here. So it was the elite. So socialism was like, these elite, they need to disperse the wealth from these. They have, they have a lock on this. Then it became, okay, we got rid of all those people. Now let's find somebody with 5 acres and, 20 cows. Now we got rid of those. So now let's find somebody with 1 acre and 5 cows.
Let's go down the tier.
And then it just came all the way to the point to where there was nothing and you're eating babies, literally. They
They
eating
did.
babies.
I mean, you can see the black and white photos online of this.
There was markets where they were selling human parts.
Yep.
There's pictures of that. So, we have to be careful when we look at this diabolic nature of the spirit.
The only thing diabolic is the people pointing fingers and saying that they're the ones that are being victims of this.
The only thing diabolic is your free will to do bad.
Yeah, that's diabolic.
You have the power.
Yeah.
And then you get a group of people with thought.
Yeah.
And then that intention becomes reality.
And you tell them, you guys all need to believe me. I'm clairvoyant that this lady up here is a witch. And here's a fun fact. These people that they were pinpointing that typically had some sort of interaction with the Draka entity,
Right.
they were men and women.
Yes.
Actually, a majority of the people that were killed during the witch trials
We're men.
were men.
Yes. Influent men. Men that
Men
had
of influence.
that got quick wealth
Why? Yeah. So
by being entrepreneurial.
So we're getting into the chunk of this because he describes it in his own way for the story, but I think there's a lot to be learned from this.
Yeah, and so their fellow villagers considered these people greedy and highly aggressive. The accused replied that they were the victims, not just of slander, but of envy. So now we're getting to it. This envy word.
We are envious of them because they have more material goods. They're gaining. They have a higher social mobility than we do. Think about these towns in context here. They're slightly isolated areas. Very little trade. What is grown at the town is eaten at the town. And so if one specific person starts to grow more and earn more, you're going to outshine the rest of the town very, very quickly.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
So even if you are clever, cunning, or you're trying to be a profiteer, in a bad way, that can come back to bite you in the ass here. Where people are like, you're practicing witchcraft.
Mm-hmm.
Because for them, that town, anything that happens there economically, if it's not shared by all, then that zero-sum game mentality says you're taking from the rest of everyone. We all have to suffer in this town. So the small town mentality creates this asymmetry where it's like, we're going to go against you. And a great way for us to get back at you through your own gain is to call you a witch.
Yeah, and he said the rumors about dragons were really attacks on profit-seeking. And I kind of want to put you on the spot, Alex, if you don't mind. Can we see if there's anything in the raw materials about envy or jealousy?
Envy or jealousy?
I don't know if there is. So we're doing this live on the spot.
I know there is in, what do you call it? Shakespeare. Doth jealousy the green-eyed monster.
Oh, yeah, of course. I mean, there's a lot of that. But, envy, jealousy, this here alone is the cause, I think, of a lot of the downfall of mankind. I mean, look how many people get jealous and then, like they'll murder and rage.
In all 2 years in all 5 books of Ra, the word jealous, jealousy, envy, or envious never showed up once.
Mm.
Isn't it funny that something that only speaks about the law of one never uses those words?
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
It's all unity.
Yeah, it's all unity.
I didn't know if they were going to give an explanation of it or call it out or anything. This is really interesting because I kind of want to stay here. Whenever we look at, because envy, jealousy, however you want to look at it, we've seen people do horrendous acts in the name of jealousy
or an envy. Envy
right.
Here's the definition for it. Envy is an emotion which occurs when a person lacks another's superior quality, achievement, or possession, and either desires it or wishes that the other lacked it. It's either I want what you have or I want it taken away from you. It's strictly a victim play.
But we do this all the time. Maybe we're at work and we see another person get promoted, or we see another person get praised by the boss,
mm-hmm.
and then we wish them ill will.
Yeah, but I'm doing all this good work. How come I'm not seen?
Yeah. Well, how does he able to do this and I'm not?
Yeah.
Here's the slippery slope.
Yeah, and then what happens after that? And then you start to paint everything in that light. You leave work. Now you start becoming envy. That guy's driving a nicer car than me.
Mm-hmm.
What does he do for work? This person's half my age. Why is he driving a $225,000 car?
My wife's on Snapchat a little too much. I wonder who she's talking to.
Who's she talking to? What's she looking at?
She must be looking.
Right?
Yeah.
My boyfriend, he's been liking other people's pictures.
Other women, yeah.
Yeah. Or other guys'
men.
pictures.
Yeah,
I knew you and I were going the same
exactly.
direction with that. What's going on here? Why is there, I go to a party and then, my significant other is showing much more attention to everyone else, but I'm here in this public setting. What is this? How come I'm not getting the attention?
There are people that live this way. That there are people that say, I'm just an extremely jealous person.
Oh, yeah. And it's like, what are you doing being jealous? What is there to be jealous of?
And I was this way. I was this way when I was young. So, it's this whole idea of being hurt or preventing to be hurt. Because I had to learn this, as far as when I was in my teens and early 20s, I really experienced, and we have a lot of people that are young that listen to this. And so that's why I wanted to pause here and see if we could help them. So for me personally, first relationship I had where I was seriously, had puppy love or whatever, and was really in love. I was like 15.
Good for you.
And then my friend, she ended up liking my friend who was a better basketball player than me.
Nice.
And so she broke up with me on the phone, and I was crying and absolutely devastated, and it was just horrific for me.
I love how you still remember the details.
Yeah, I do.
Must have been
Yeah, it was horrific. Yeah. And so I can remember standing in the garage because we had a phone in the garage, but it was the wired one. This was before cell phones. Cell phones were expensive because they had the bag phone.
You had the long coily cord on it.
Yeah. And so I'm sitting there just crying to her, begging her, to take me back. It's really pathetic. It's opposite of what you want to be. But I can remember this, and then the next year I won MVP.
Good for you.
For basketball. But I used the fuel of that because I still played with him on basketball. So I wanted to be better than him. I wanted to, lift more weights than he did in the gym. I had to make more shots than he did. And I let this rage, this jealousy, this envy
drive
me to the point of being, we ended up going to state and everything else in basketball, but it was the wrong motivation.
Oh, it was a bad driver.
It's this negative polarity.
Yeah.
It wasn't necessarily bad. I was just I was all consumed, and I think when we look at envy, and we look at jealousy, and we create these conspiracy theories about those that we love, a lot of it has to do with being ultimately selfish.
Ooh, micro conspiracies leading to selfishness. Wow, that's fantastic.
So instead of me wishing the best for that person, because this is going to be radical thinking, and this is something I've really, and I'm 47 and had to figure this out. If that person does not find you attractive anymore, if that person has evolved to the point to where they're finding somebody else that would be more compatible with them, that whole idea of accepting their free will and that it's nothing against you.
No, they're just
personally.
They're changing.
It's time to let them. It's the same as employment. Maybe that job isn't that job for you anymore because you've evolved to the point with your consciousness where you need to work somewhere else.
Correct.
And maybe that relationship that you're in right now, instead of fighting, we used that word in the last about fighting everything. Instead of fighting, maybe it's this opportunity. It's an opportunity
to evolve out of it.
Yes.
Okay. It's like coming out of the cocoon into a butterfly. You've been in a larval stage, and now you realize what you want to become. Time to hatch out.
And when because envy they said it's an emotion.
Yeah, it's an emotion.
So when you experience an emotion and you feel it's becoming negative, one of the things that we teach all the time, and I think is really, really important, is that moment is when you can become self-aware and have an opportunity that this is a lesson.
Yes.
To be learned.
Don't
take it personally.
Don't take it personally, and don't just sit in that negative emotion and then let it begin to control, because you don't want to apply logical thought. You don't want to integrate with it to understand where it came from. Every thought has its root. People are just not honest enough with themselves or others to discuss that root.
Right.
Some people are quick to think and figure out what it is. Others, it takes a very long time. Maybe having that emotional stance, but you got to continue to build that self-awareness.
Yeah, and I was talking to someone the other day, and they were talking about this person has not said that they're their boyfriend yet.
Okay.
And so then they developed this conspiracy theory that maybe he's cheating, even though they've known each other for a year, and he still hasn't said. And I'm like, well, you need to have a conversation with them instead of being passive aggressive, because what you're doing is they were looking at their location all the time. They were being obsessive.
Yeah.
In this envy or jealousy, because that's what it'll cause you to be obsessive. So now you're checking their location all the time. You're judging everything through this negative filter of selfishness, when all you had to do was have the balls, and I'm going to use that word. There may be a better way to say it, but have the balls to sit them down and say, hey,
courage.
I love you. I know you love me.
Yep.
I would like to take it another step, make it official, whatever you want to call it. Why would there be? So they had the conversation. This is really interesting.
Sit down to have the courage.
Yes.
When you say balls, people think like, oh, it's that masculine idea. Only if you have balls can you actually get things done. No, there's a lot of good feminine energy. It's just we're retuning our words here. Having the courage.
It's just an old cliche.
No, I know that. Having the courage to share in that honesty, really share those thoughts. That's what's going to define a great relationship.
Yes.
Is speaking those thoughts. Sometimes I speak them too quickly.
Yeah.
I'll tell you that right now.
Oh, we all do. We're human. That's just part of it. There's probably I say stupid shit all the time. But what I wanted to get into this is, all the time. You guys know this if you've listened for a while.
Yeah.
This is why it's for entertainment purposes only.
Yeah.
We have a big disclaimer on it. But no, so I was talking to this person. So they finally had the conversation.
Yep.
But they had it with alcohol, because the alcohol gave them courage to. So they were both buzzed, and they had the conversation.
Sure.
And people will do that because they're so uncomfortable. So the conversation went this way. We've done this. We've been together this long. I want to make it more official. Why haven't you? So there's an accusation. So now you're already going against that person's free will, and you're putting him in defense. So the person says this: when I first met you, you did this, this, and this. So now I don't trust you fully, and I'm kind of watching you.
I had this idea or attachment to what you were before, but now there's been a change. So my idea of how I defined you through what was happening, previously I can't look at you in the same light.
Yeah, and so they had gone on a couple dates in the very beginning. This is really interesting. This is helping a lot of people. They had gone on a couple dates in the very beginning. And they hardly knew each other. They were just kind of friends.
Yeah.
And then this person went on a date with somebody else, ended up liking them, and then had a relationship with them for 8 months. And then went back to this person. You see what I'm saying? This happens all the time. So this person, the reason that they would not commit to them is saying they're taking something that was logically like a 2 or 3 on a scale of 1 to 10.
Yeah.
Because you didn't have a commitment then. So they could date whoever they want and go whoever. They didn't choose you. That's whatever. And so this person took that and then formed a herd around it, create a defensive mechanism, and now will not make a commitment with this person because of something that happened in the past that's so illogical but has a ton of emotion to it. You see what I'm saying?
Correct.
So now you have 2 people that are hurt trying to have a conversation with alcohol in their system.
Right. Logic is completely blinded by this flash of emotion.
Mm-hmm.
You're not even going to look at it, and I'm going to paint the entire light and perspective on the past, but your idea for talking about the relationship is about your future.
Yes.
And right now. Why are you still talking about what's going on in the past? How do we learn right now? What is going on at this moment?
And I want people to, this is kind of a fun way to do it because I was thinking about this when I was in the article. When you start getting jealous or have envy, think of this stupid little dragon in your head. Because it'll help you become self-aware. And then you could say, as stupid as that was, and people actually died from this and were tortured, as stupid as that little dragon was, and as dumb as that is, and as fake as it is the same emotion that I'm having right now. Because jealousy is not real.
No, jealousy is this just sort of made up thing because you lack, apparently, the control to realize that other people can be successful through their efforts. It's not
on their own.
On their own. It's not some sort of divine or cosmic event that made them special or whatever it is, and that's holding you down. Nothing's holding you down. It's time for you to go. Go do it.
Mm-hmm.
Go put in the effort.
And this whole idea of luck, it's cause and effect, like right timing. You're at the boss is in a good mood, so he decides to promote you because you're sitting in his office talking to him. That can happen. It seems illogical.
But did you go into the office?
Yeah, exactly.
You did. Did you choose that job? Yeah.
Yes.
Did you choose to have that conversation with him that day? Sure.
Yeah, and so this dragon, we'll get back to the article. That was kind of a long side note, but I felt like that was I wanted to be practical with the dragon. Yeah. Dragons were really attacks on profit seeking.
Yep.
The rural ambassadors of the rising market economy were denounced as immoral and greedy.
Yeah, anybody that was doing really well or was socially pegged as above the rest of the group, bad people. The only way they could have made their wealth was by doing something immoral.
Mm-hmm.
That was the general idea. And that immorality was bridged with the Draka. So the bridge of you getting ahead in any way that you did it, you had to have done it with the help of a spirit, and therefore we can coin you to be a witch. A majority of which these people were males that were finding themselves ahead of the rest of the town. That's all it was.
Yeah, and I want to use the Ramhold family because I think this is really interesting.
These are the beer makers?
No, they were tapping into 2 new sources of income. They were modest artisans. So that here they are as a family. They sold beer and milk, and they only had 1 cow. The Ramholts became relatively affluent. In time, the family began lending money on interest.
Correct.
And then, so now they have 1 cow. They're being really industrious with this cow. They're selling a lot of milk. They found a way where they're marketing beer.
Yep.
So two commodities that are needed. I mean, everybody drank beer because the water was so bad.
Yeah, they still do.
Beer and milk, because no known pathogen can live in beer. That's why beer is so great for you.
Yeah.
That's my excuse. I just stopped drinking. I was drinking beer every day.
Thank you for all your science, Bill Nye.
Yeah, my bro science.
Oh, man.
They sold beer and milk, even though they only 1 cow. And then this is the crazy part. So as they began to lend money on interest, so now you have all these people that owe them.
Yes.
So now all their neighbors owe them money.
So they think now all these neighbors are now subordinate to this thing, right? And they're doing the bidding work of some sort of demon for the devil. Mm-hmm. Now they feel like they're on this hierarchy chain of having to do work for this demon. And every time we pay them money, they just become richer and richer and richer.
But isn't it funny when we owe someone how it's like how we have view of our landlords?
Did these people choose to go ask for a loan from this family, the Bromhalls, whatever they were?
Yes.
Yeah, they did. And then when they're paying it back, they're probably trying to get themselves out of it. So it's
Yes.
like, think about it. Think about it like, oh man, can we all get together and just coin this person as a witch?
Yeah, exactly. I'm all for eliminating student debt. I think I think that would be great. I think it's dumb.
Education needs to be free. All knowledge should be free.
All knowledge should be free, but just eradicating student debt. There's people that have. I know somebody personally that has like $100,000 in student loans. And they have a 4-year degree and they're making $30,000 a year.
Yep.
They will never be able to pay that back.
They'll never be able to pay it back.
Just do the math. It's sad,
Especially with the interest on it.
So I get that. I get the whole idea, but the system's broken.
Yeah.
You got to fix the system, not just pay off the debt.
No, because then you just get a whole new pool of debt.
But look how many people are playing because they choose to sign up for these student loans. Is it nefarious the way the companies do it?
I chose to sign up for mine.
It's like you can file bankruptcy, but you can't file bankruptcy against your student loans.
Only in retrospect can I look. Yeah. Only in retrospect. Yeah. I can't ask to get my debt cleared for knowledge. Only when I look back, I was like, I should have gone to a community college.
Yes.
I could have paid a couple $100 and been done with it. But instead, I paid $100,000.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot of money. People got to work hard for that. You don't just have that expendable capital just sitting around.
Yeah, exactly.
Gosh.
Margareta Ramhold was executed in 1628, his wife, because somebody saw a dragon in the Ramhold's house.
Isn't that fantastic?
Imagine that they saw they all of a sudden this person is coming from the pub. They owe a lot of money to the Ramholds. I see a dragon.
There's a dragon here. Somebody get the local minister right now. I'm calling all my friends in their space suits.
But there was a second kind of witch, Alex,
Here we go.
that instilled fear and loathing in the people of early modern Europe. The significant minority of wealthy people assumed to be witches.
Rich witches.
Here's the rich witches. This is a second type of witch.
Yeah.
So, and they were rumored to be the most powerful and most aggressive disciples of Satan.
Oh, I love that.
Because this is what's happening right now, the rich elite.
Yeah, they're lending on interest. They're making more money. They're holding everybody else down. They won't share their resources. All these things, right?
Yes.
It's the same thing. It's these billionaires are the new rich witches.
And rich witches were mostly what?
Men. Yep.
Yes. And they had profited from the agrarian crisis in the 16th, 17th centuries. Others were officials who had enriched themselves through straightforward corruption.
Oh, politicians.
Do you see how this plays? We are learning right now.
Germany in the 1500s is exactly like what's going on again right now.
A great number of these people, the newly rich and corrupt officials, were accused of witchcraft. And this is interesting. This is Flade. They have this guy named Flade. And Flade was a corrupt official who had supported the Prince Archbishop of Trier in conflict with Trier secular authorities. He was also a notorious moneylender. You see all these moneylenders.
It's all the usury.
Yeah, exactly.
If you're getting interest on it, if you're charging too high of an interest, you're a bad person.
He became fabulously rich and influential in only a couple years. So it's sudden wealth. So this is the trigger.
Dude, it's the instant social mobility. If you have the flexibility to move around and these people that are stuck farming their fields and are miserable about their own lives, what do you think is going to happen? They will use every tool under the sun to consider themselves a victim and paint you as the perpetrator every single time. And that perpetration was witchcraft.
And this is interesting. And I want us to talk about this. So then came his sudden downfall. At least 28 so-called witches denounced Flade in their confessions. They present him as a demonic figure presiding over the Sabbath. So now you have the accused accusing.
Yeah, because I need to pass it off. I don't know what to tell you. It's like that thing as, I didn't kill him. I was insane at that moment. Dude, there's no difference. By saying, the demon was the person having me do it. I didn't really do it with my own free will. I was insane at that moment. I wasn't thinking straight, but I killed them. But we can make it get you away with it.
But do you see how slippery of a slope this goes to now you have, okay, I got accused. I'm a witch. How can I get off on this? So I need to blame someone else.
That's what it is. And then this massive blame game goes back and forth.
Yeah, the Prince Elector accepted the idea that Flade's economic behavior indicated that he was in league with Satan because all of a sudden, another rich witch was Martin Gerber, a merchant of the Swabian small town of Horb.
Yep.
And he had made a fortune in trade. So as he began to get all of this money, then he began lending and stuff like that. Once again, here we go. From 1597 onward, suspicions of witchcraft developed not against Gerber himself, And see, this is the egalitarian part, but against his wife and his daughter.
Yeah.
And so it was interesting because his daughter was arrested and tortured, even though she never confessed.
She let go.
She eventually
let go.
She was released from prison, and then she began to fight against the accusations of Witchcraft for the rest of her life. So that was awesome.
Yeah.
And a lot of times we can take our supposed hurt or the trauma that we've experienced, and then we can be an advocate and help others that learn, teach, learn.
That's exactly right. I love that.
Yeah. And I want to get into this, the gender aspect of this. Treasure hunters were almost exclusively male.
Yeah.
Among both the rich witches and dragon witches, we find women and men. There seem to have been more men than women among the influent victims of the witch trials. Greed and witchcraft were not exclusively attributed to women.
No, but why though? But the thing is, it's not only the fact of the men and women and the aspect of them being rich.
Right.
It's the fact that they were inside a town and the treasure hunters were outside a town looking for resources from a spirit.
Yes.
If you're inside the town finding gain, that gain is only to be had by taking it away from other people. That's the thought.
So,
zero sum in the town, and outside of the town, it's anybody's card.
So what unites all three? Social mobility.
That's exactly right.
This is the problem. They were newly rich, and this idea, and I want to get into this too, and then we can be done. This idea of limited good.
Yeah.
That in this pre-modern agrarian society, the economy is a zero-sum game.
If we had 100 grains,
right,
pieces of grain, okay, and this is feeding the whole village, if I start to acquire 60% of that grain as one person, then the other 40% has to be delved out to the other 99% of the village.
Mm-hmm.
The balance is off. And in their mind, we are screwed. One person has total grain control of our total food supply. We can't have that. There's no balance here. And your social mobility, your ability to collect more of those resources, they look at to themselves as like, well, those grains are ours.
Right.
That's for us. Even though the other person has put in the hard work to raise himself up and their resources so that they can live a better life.
One person's gain is necessarily everybody else's loss.
Right. There you go.
And I want to end in this and I want you to speak to this, because we have this ability, this scarcity mentality, but creativity always blows us out of the water. Mm-hmm. Because, back in the days we could say, the oil barons, where they have a lock on all of, they own oil. Now we've got data.
Yes.
And we have, but someone created a phone out of the blue, a wireless phone, and then look at, Apple's worth $1 trillion. Yeah. Amazon created this whole supply system where you can get things in 2 days or a day.
Well, they had an iPod first.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, how do we take music and put it on this thing? And how do we put a music store with it? Right. And that's like, wait a minute, can we put a cell phone in an iPod? Oh my God, we can. And not only do we have, now we have apps. Now we had a music store. Can we put an app store in there too? It's the same thing. People were just being creative.
But creativity kills this.
Of course it does.
And it creates an abundance mentality instead of a scarcity
That's
mentality.
Because creativity is a function of creation.
Right.
That's all it is.
So when you're looking at the global elite, that what they would say nowadays, or you're looking at these people, it's like decentralization, blockchain right now. Look at blockchain alone. It is, and cryptocurrencies and stuff like that. Everybody that had a lock on the banking system mm-hmm. is shitting themselves right now, because decentralization brings it all back to the people. So this creativity,
Satoshi Nakamoto in 2009, this random person comes up with this creative idea to decentralize the ownership of a currency.
Mm-hmm.
That's bananas. And people are like, crap, something creative came in and enhanced free will. It was more unifying. It was more egalitarian.
There we go.
That's what it was. That creativity begins to shine through. But then people start to peg it as, now it is, well, who owns the most amount of Bitcoin? Oh, who's mining it faster? Who can take more of these resources? And that's not what it is about. Mm-mm. But we constantly try and drag these beautiful creative things back into the zero-sum game. Mm-hmm. This world of non-abundance. That's the issue. People are so inabundant in their mind and their thoughts and the value of their spirit and how they perceive it that they apply that to everything else in the material world. They have a limited mindset. They're short-sighted.
If we looked at creation and harmonized with it, mm-hmm. and we looked at this globe, even with 7.8 trillion people, and we got serious, billion, billion, and we look at and being in harmony with creation, there's abundance in all of that.
Yes,
the globe is. We're like pillaging the globe right now pretty hardcore. And we only have 40 to 60 years. But if we got serious and we've seen things that we can reverse.
Yeah, 100%. How many things can we reverse? Just about all of these things on here, from economic inequalities, lack of transparency,
Human rights,
health of nations, human rights, war efforts, all this stuff can be reversed. It's just about us coming together in a unifying aspect to realize the power we have within ourselves, to think about that unlimited nature, and then put this world on the right footing that it needs to be on, not on a broomstick.